Hey guys, welcome to the Grindhead podcast. This is episode 8. Really wasn't sure I was going to do a podcast this week because of the holiday, but something happened which kind of demanded my attention. So we're going to get right into this here without any really big setup. There was an incident that occurred in Kansas in the wee hours of the morning that is something that I was always afraid was going to happen. I knew it would happen, and I wish I had been wrong. So this young man was at his house, wasn't doing anything. Police came knocking on his door, went to answer the door, and got shot and killed by the police. Why this happened was that nearby, down the street, as I understand, a couple folks were participating in an online wager match in Call of Duty to the large sum of $1.50 US. And due to an argument that arose over that competition, this individual proceeded to give out a false home address for himself, and the other person called in a SWAT to this person had nothing to do with the wager. An innocent person named Andy Finch, life ended this morning because someone could not keep their fucking emotions straight regarding $1.50 wager in a fucking video game. Which just blows my fucking mind, folks. So this is a lot of layers to this. The short version of which is that on one hand, you got a swatting event. That's bad enough. That shit needs to go. 2, people are betting on games, which I don't feel you should be doing either. That's actually not legal. And then the cops did what they did, which they shouldn't have happened either. Someone knocks on the door. If you knock on someone's door, I don't care if you have a gun drawn or not, like, the expectation is that they will answer the fucking door, right? So, Sherry, I figure we should just start from the beginning, right? Sure. Tell me when you found out about this and what your initial thoughts were.
So I don't know. I opened my Twitter and I just saw people just all these emotions about how much they hate the idea that somebody can ruin someone's life with a matter of a phone call. But this time it went above and beyond that because someone lost their life. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. Someone lost their life over this? I couldn't understand it. So I started following a bunch of tweets. And before I know it, I started reading an article about how a man had died because of a swatting incident that gave his address, which was not the person who gave the address's address. And it was at first it was all this scrambled and mumbo jumbo. No one really had a real sense of what was going on because the articles were really short.
Right.
And then as the day went on,
also they couldn't release things. Yeah.
Yeah. And as the day went on, I started learning that this man had nothing to do with the entire event. He was just answering his door because he heard noises. And the police thought it was a hostage situation. One person was already dead and that he had more in the house. So they shot him. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, first thing in my mind was, how stupid and low life are you to actually swat somebody? Like, right. First, like, I mean, we all get angry over video games. Sure. But I can't imagine getting to the point where you're getting so angry that you want it to affect someone's life. Right. Whether even if you think it's a joke or not. To me, it's just like, huh? Like, I've never been that angry. I mean, you get angry, you toss your controller or something.
I've been angry with a person in general to the point where I wanted to go to blows. I've been angry with people to the point where, violence came over me. But at no point would I have thought to pull a gun and put it in their face. Which, when you swat someone, is exactly what you were inciting. You were actually inciting the act of a gun being put on someone. Now, I presume that the intended outcome is that they're going to be scared and they shit their pants, and that's the end of it. But the person that or people, because it only happened once or twice in my entire life, where I was really like that livid. Like there were actual like deep personal insults hauled off, like people's mothers were questioned and things like that, and it was a direct altercation of emotional energy. Right? It wasn't, oh shit, you got that snipe off, I'm mad at you now because you're better at me than in a game. And it could be any game. It doesn't have. This is the point I want to make. This could have happened over any type of pastime, but swatting just apparently is something that's more or less restricted to the gaming community because that's where it started. You never hear of someone getting swatted over like a pool game or darts or something like that. But you could do that. You could potentially do that. And if you want to like play a joke on somebody, whatever, play a joke. But this is not a joke. It's a misappropriation of government. It's a misappropriation of government funds. It's putting people in direct harm's way. And it's just, there's no part of it that's like, oh, I can see why you would do that. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens. I could like, you know what? If I twist it this way, I could see it. But this isn't funny. This isn't. It never was. There was a video that came out, or it was a fake article. I actually made a YouTube video about it, and then I got called out. It was because it's a false article, and I didn't know that. It's a guy that was apparently had been gone to court for swatting and got actually sentenced to like 15 years. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, finally, I thought back then, this is, 3 years ago. I was like, this is perfect. But it was false. I was like, oh, shit. So I had to re-edit the video to kind of talk about what I felt about it. And, but part of my concern, the police are going to have to answer for this, right? Like, they're going to have to answer for the actual events of the shooting, number one. Mm. But the people person that called in the threat will have to answer to the fact that it was a false alarm on some level. But it won't, there's not really a crime. Not really. Not because you can't, it's kind of like, if you report sexual harassment, for example, at your place of business in the U.S., there's a law, and most companies, have it in place where you can't victim shame. You can't like come down on the person who reported it because it's a good faith thing, right? And I have a feeling and a concern that might be what they're going to say here. Like, well, he really thought someone was in danger. Like, no, he didn't. There's evidence to the contrary.
This is the funny part is I actually went back and watched an interview that happened today with the guy that claims he did the swatting, and like his mentality about the whole situation is like, how are you a human being? Like, how do you look at yourself in the mirror and say, and one of his tweets, like, I can't remember the quote was like, I'm not the one who had the weapon.
Yeah, I actually saw that it's in the article. It's also on Reddit, and Reddit had a different viewpoint of it, which was odd. The quote was, and I don't have it word for word in front of me, but I remember it. And he basically said, "I'm not responsible because I'm not a police officer. That's not my vocation. I didn't pull the trigger.
I'm not a SWAT
right.
or whatever it is.
Right. I didn't do it. I'm not responsible." And it's like, yeah, you are 100% responsible.
For the first time ever, like my reaction to what he had seen and like what he was saying was just like, you are so vile. Like, how do you sleep at night? How do you walk around knowing that you are part of the reason that someone has lost their life? If it wasn't for you calling in this SWAT, this man would still be alive. These children will still have a father. And yet you sit here, and in that interview he says, well, I'm part of the, I guess I'm as guilty as all the other people involved. And I'm sitting here going, what? Like
no, you are more guilty than anyone else.
Yes, because I guess it started with the young man giving a fake real address, but not his.
And that's the thing, like that was the argument on Reddit. The argument on Reddit was like, well, that guy should be responsible too. It's like, well, here's the thing. he shouldn't have given out an address at all, number one, right? That said, I got to be honest, I don't see this being something he's responsible for. Like, he reacted poorly in the situation where the thing is, he could have given any address. The fact is that guy still took that information and did something with it.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
he was the person that was holding everything and gave, and literally, like, it was almost like he lit, you know, the bomb. He lit it, and the rest was all in the hands of the police. And now you have a police officer who was led to believe that he was approaching a very dangerous situation, you know, and I don't really know, like, why, because we don't know the police officer's side of the story yet.
Right.
Don't know why he felt the need to pull the trigger. And I'm not defending him because I don't know his, you know, everyone looks at me for these kind of things because my father was a police officer, and they always ask me, like, well, you know, as a daughter to cop, what are your feelings about this? And it's like, I can't speak for this police officer because I don't know him and I don't know the situation. And you never know a situation for anything. I will never defend a police officer's actions because I wasn't there. Whether you know, and I'm very, like, distraught over the fact that a young man's life was taken because of all this. And I know for a fact the police officer is going to be living with this the rest of his life, especially when he finds out that this was all based on a prank.
Right.
And his action and reaction is going to be far more serious than anything, because in the end, he's the one that finalized the whole thing, if that makes any sense.
Right, exactly, because like for him, it's the end result of the people that are left in wake. You know, the family has to deal with the fact that Andy's gone, and the police officer that did the shooting is going to have to live with the fact that he pulled that trigger. Now, based on the facts that are available, I do feel, based on that, that there was probably a mistake made. But as to why that mistake was made, I don't dare speculate. Because if you're walking up to a house and you were under the impression someone's already dead, you're tensed up. And I can't really be angry with him for being tense or being prepared to defend someone. I question what would motivate that police officer to have pulled the trigger under the circumstances that it was described in everything I've read. But I don't know. So I don't want to say they were definitely in the wrong. I think it's wrong that it happened. And, you know, certainly there was some things that I saw, something that was brought up, and I don't want to get too far down this path necessarily, because frankly, it's not about the cop at all, really. Not really to me. But there was a combat veteran from Iraq, one of the folks that were helping take Baghdad back in 2003, and they were going door to door throughout the city, trying to make sure people were safe and also that they were not going to be running out with dynamite and shit. So every door you knocked on, you knew you could die. Every single door. And they had to do that for days. And his point was that at no point in any of the houses that we went to did we instinctively detain or shoot anybody, because we were knocking on the door waiting for them to answer. Now, granted, you're doing that under rules of engagement. You're in wartime. It's a little bit different than the rules of engagement for, as far as we know, we have to assume that this was true. We have to assume this person was dead and that there is an escalated threat here. So it's definitely two different things, but I understand the point that this veteran was trying to make, which was if everything is as point blank as it has been portrayed so far in the press, which was the guy just walked up to his door after the door was knocked on and got shot with no apparent weapon or anything like that. Now, granted, we don't know that. I want to stress that this is speculation based upon the reports that are out there now, which, as Sherry said, they're not quite complete yet, right? So we got to be careful about that. But based on the information that is there, I do feel like if that's all that happened, that's a huge error. And that police officer has to live with that. But we don't know yet.
Yep. I think even though if there's details that come out, like I'm not going to speculate or anything, like I even make up in the scenario, but the things that we don't know right now, because obviously it's a new investigation. In the end, like he will always have to live with the fact that this happened, and it just in general sucks. And I don't like, I can't imagine how, like, I don't know, like it's just so it is very like frustrating, this whole situation. And like
the
how
police
many,
officer
I don't know,
put in
like
this position
how
in the
many
first
more
place.
people are gonna learn from this incident and see it and then think that like, oh, this won't happen if I were to SWAT somebody or whatever, like. And now people are stressing, like, if you're a streamer, please call your police department and stress to them that if anybody calls to my address because of a certain situation, just know, like, when you come to my door, I'm going to comply with you and everything like that.
Right.
So, it's just,
And no one should ever be in that position, ever.
No, and this is why I just don't understand how anyone thinks that they could just. It's funny. It's not. I've watched so many YouTubes of things happening to people, like this happening to people.
Mm-hmm.
And like, has anyone ever met a SWAT officer before? Because I have, and let me tell you, they're trained to look through a tunnel vision until everything is assessed. So when they come in through your door, they're coming in with information that's given to them. And then until you're done complying with them and everything, and then start talking to them and whatnot, their whole goal is to like assess the situation and diffuse it. Mm-hmm. So any little, like, it's just like, who thinks that's funny? I don't know. Like, you want guys in heavy armor with weapons drawn at your face? No.
No.
Would the SWAtter want that to them?
And that's apparently what they think is funny, that they're trying to scare him or whatever. And hell
yeah, I'm scared, but
right, exactly. But then you look at like the other version of how that information is often used, which is doxing, which there's a big ton of that. More so in like 2-3 years ago, it was much bigger than it is now, from what I've seen. Like I seem to see less of it. In no small part, like you hear less about swatting and also doxing. I think, honestly and truly, on the platform we're using right now, Discord, people stopped using Skype, which has a well-known IP address exploit. That's why I never fucking used the program. That's why Discord came out. That was their entire platform for advertisement. Was, we're not Skype. You're safe. So like, for me as an entertainer, that's why I only use it. That's all I use. I don't mess with anything else. Unless in this extreme circumstance, and even then it's Google, and even then I'm using a VPN. But I shouldn't have to worry about that.
It's your this is something either you're doing as a job or as a hobby. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you should be able to sit here and do what you want to do and talk to people and know that you can go through the entire thing in the comfort of your own home. And everything like that, and then to have it turned around on you because someone's like, oh, this is going to be a funny day for me because this is going to happen live on stream, and it's just like, oh, it's not funny. And now everyone must, and it comes to like, and now that someone has lost their life who had nothing to do with the situation, and anyway, it's become even more, like a lot scarier, especially for streamers, because it's like, well, is the calls that are going to be made and going to be a lot worse, to say that there was a hostage situation and someone was dead versus like, oh, I hear there's a guy in the house with a gun or something. And now it's how much the scenarios are they going to get worse and worse each time because someone else is going to be like, well, this guy made it funny, turn blindly to the end result of it and to say something worse. I hope that, people are starting to realize that, no, this is not funny. It's sick. It's a very sickening thing to do, and it's it's got to stop.
I agree.
It has to stop.
Now, we're going to defy convention here. Normally, we don't do reactions to chat until after the show proper is over, but for the sake of having an open discussion about this, I think this is an appropriate episode to go ahead and do that on the show. Because everyone is invested here, and I want to make sure you guys have your voices heard as well. So I'm going to scroll up here. Tones EU says that he can confirm that you'll only hear every third word, so that's fair. Want to make sure we have that confirmed.
Tones.
Tones also says he thinks it's the first death from swatting, but this thing in the COD community has happened multiple times. It's happened over multiple games, but I would say I don't want to bring Call of Duty into it. In as much as any competitive game, this could have happened. Doesn't matter. They bet $1.50 over the match, and it's like, if you're that worried about losing $1.50, you have bigger problems in your life, dude. They shouldn't have been betting on the game in the first place. But the thing is, the wager part of it, I'm like, that's really stupid. But people have done this over games that weren't monetarily wagered, though. Yeah. So I don't necessarily think that was the huge thing. Jill says that she's in tears, and it's definitely awful, honey. And Athalana's, hi, how are you? Tone says the kid that did it apparently did it at the Dallas event, and the other month was saying there was a bomb got evacuated. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, he actually confirmed that it was him in the same interview that he gave, confirming that he.
So wait. He actually called in a bomb threat to a Call of Duty event.
His whole motivation is to get things evacuated because that's funny to him. So he calls it in to see the evacuation happen, and it happens, and it happened twice, and for one event, and it's like, at what point, why? I don't understand why nobody has actually stopped him in any way. Cause
he needs to be behind bars. Period.
Because it's going to come to a point where is it going to become the boy who cried wolf? Eventually, at what point will SWAT team, police departments go, oh, okay, another.
Right.
Will they start catching on? And then what if something seriously has happened and they don't catch it?
And it's the opposite, because there wasn't a swatting taking place and someone actually loses their life because SWAT didn't take it seriously.
Right.
It's something people don't talk about, that part of it, where it's like, well, the cops got the shit they got to deal with too. Because there's a lot, this goes a lot deeper than just, it's a prank, it's fun, and it's crazy.
Yep.
LFC023 says he hopes that the kid who got called gets life in prison. He said himself that he's over 18 in the interview, so crossing fingers for life for murder. He might be able to be brought up on charges for accessory or second degree, but that's about as far I could go. I don't know that would give him life. He might be able to get, I think it's 15 to 20 on second degree, depending upon the state he's in. He's in Kansas. I didn't look up the penal code there. Sorry. I didn't do that much research. I was too pissed off. Normally I would have researched that. But I think second degree murder, most places is a minimum 15-year sentence, I believe. But don't quote me on that. I definitely agree. He needs to get locked up, and he's probably some kind of a sociopath that needs medical help too.
That's another thing I've sat here and thought, when you're actually playing with other people's lives, because that's what you're doing. You're getting SWAT to come to someone's house, point guns at them, and what is going through your mind? Are you having such a bad life that you need to destroy someone else's? That's how I look at it. And do you need to talk to somebody? Should we? We start
a guy in that position doesn't think that. They're thinking, I was just trying to get a joke done. I wasn't out to destroy someone's life, and the cop pulled the trigger, not me. So as a result,
that tweet. When I saw that tweet, I was like, really? That's almost like someone who actually murdered someone saying it's this person's fault. It's the store's fault for selling me this knife.
Right.
That's their mentality.
Yep. And Twitter suspended his account, so you can't even read that tweet anymore, which I'm grateful for, because I think that Twitter was smart, because they were suspending him not just because he shouldn't be able to have a platform to say the shit that he wants to say, but also, let's face facts. the shit would have gone cyclic, and someone would have been trying to go after him. I'm almost certain of this, and that wouldn't have solved fucking anything. LFC says that they shouldn't get blamed for it. We've definitely said that. We're also sick of seeing it as well. Okay, he tweets about it. Just catching up, guys. Swatting is fucking dangerous and bullshit. It is fucking dangerous and fucking bullshit. Absolutely. Did interview in Starbucks. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's where the interview was done. And like, he also, about the part where his Twitter was suspended, he said that it wasn't. Someone actually, he had to create a new account because somebody had his name. It was bullshit. I was like, no, you just don't want people to kind of catch up with you. But I mean, and then again, his Twitter handler is like Swatastic.
Right.
So
it's like, what do you think is going to happen? Adelana says that if he was in the UK, that there are laws in place, he would be strung up for manslaughter. Good. Hey Mac, 100% good done for manslaughter here in the UK. Nice. LFC said he definitely needs mental help because in the interview he showed no guilt whatsoever towards the family and said he would apologize to the family face to face, but after seeing the shot, he talked on Twitter. Oh, shit, he talked on Twitter. I don't believe him. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Max says, I'm way too drunk for a serious convo. Fair enough, dude. Just sit back and react, if you will. Throw some songs in the queue. You're fine, brother. You're good. People that... And I don't want to say that this is like a generational thing, because it's not. There are people like this in every generation. It just so happens that in this day and age, there are more outlets for people to express these kind of psychopathic and sociopathic tendencies, unfortunately. And we just hear more about them because the internet enables information to be spread. This is something that it happens. Like, you had people calling in bomb threats when I was in fucking elementary school. I'm 40 years old. This is not new. This is not a new thing. It just so happens to be. It's kind of the technology is changed. That's all. That's all it is.
I feel like they have more outlets to express and share, and for us to find out versus like, me being 35, I only had the news. I didn't have all of the amazing social media that we have today. So where I'm like, okay, so I see something on the internet, I go see if, follow it up with other sources to see if this is actually a true story. And whereas, back when we were in school, we relied on whatever we saw on TV or what we heard by word of mouth.
Right.
So,
and we trusted that to a degree too. It wasn't until like the 24-hour news cycle really started around the time of the first Gulf War that you really started to see that there could be more of a spin on news, to begin with. At least as far as it was like, it's pretty obvious, basically it was like all the news channels kind of carried the news and it was pretty much the same. There wasn't really a spin, wasn't being sold as entertainment, but if you went to like the 700 Club, you're like, oh yeah, you know what? That's the spin. I can see the difference here. But now in the States, less so in Canada, I feel, there's very polarizing viewpoints being cast in different places, right? And with something like this, thankfully, most of the outlets that are going to cover this, it's not going to have too much spin on it, thank goodness. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It doesn't mean that mainstream media is not going to pick up on it and do their fucking number to it and make it. Guess what? We're going to call it right now. Call of Duty is going to get some shit for this because it's apparently fucking the developer's fault that this asshole is a psychopath, okay? It's spoilers, it's not, even though I don't like Call of Duty. Like, there's no game on the planet that is responsible for this man's actions, okay? None. There's no media outlet anywhere that is responsible for that. Neon feels that we should put a baseball bat to his knees. I'm like, I think that's going light on him myself, but I agree with you all the same. Waste of police time and resources. Yep. Wasting time. Yep. It should be a civil suit where he has to pay the fees of everything that happened, including his funeral expenses.
Yep.
You know, Max says, glad to see I'm not the only person left who still fucking loves Minions, by the way. There you go.
I can't take it down. Like, it's there forever.
I get you.
You can thank my kids for that.
There you go. I mean, there are worse things you could have in your background. I mean, let's face it, right? I mean, you know, at least you don't have those shitty YouTube fucking pillows. Sorry if anyone listening ever has those, but those are the chintziest, shittiest things ever. Like, they're dumb. Like, don't do that. Says the guy who has a Twitch hat within arm's reach. But that's different. That's different. And I do actually want the Twitch pillow. So it's an ironic joke. So, but yeah, Jill, the media is definitely going to give gamers shit for it. And it's going to become about the gaming. And it's not really about that.
I don't think this has anything to, like, this has nothing to do with gaming. No. I mean, like, yeah, it all started from gaming in the sense of, like, gamers, you know, getting at each other and everything like that. But in the end, like, this is just a guy who does something really, really stupid, you know, and the only thing to blame is this individual. Leave the rest of us out of it. You know, like, it makes me so angry. I'm just like is it IFC? Like the anger that's inside of me thinking about this and everything like that and whatnot, and just I can't, like, nah.
No, I get
words,
you. I get you.
All these mad words.
Anger,
you know, but,
frustration. And I can definitely reflect on that as well, because it's like, you know, like there's like, you know, they're saying in chat, like, you know, the kid had no parents. I'm like, well, that's no excuse. I'm an orphan now. That doesn't, like, as soon as my mother died, does that mean I have an excuse to fucking go out and do shit? No. You know, we all have emotional trauma. There's no excuse. Like, you get help. If you have emotional trauma, then you fucking get help. And the fact that he's already done other things in the past, like, why in the fuck do we not have laws in place that, because, like, last I heard, calling it a bomb threat was illegal. Okay?
Right?
Last I heard. And he's admitted to doing this.
Yes.
Why is no one...
Right.
Why is that not a thing?
It's out there, like...
I don't get it. So, the unfortunate part is that this, for me, this is where it gets odd as a guy who does podcasts, right? I love being able to wrap things up in a tight little bow and say, oh, there's our subject for today, and I can just fuck off, and that's the episode. The problem is that this is not going to go away anytime soon, and there isn't a resolution to this at all.
No.
You know, I feel for Andy's family. I feel for the police officer involved, because even if they made a horrible, heinous mistake with no provocation, they were trying to do their job, and they felt they had reason to act. I even feel for the guy that got threatened in the first place, because imagine the guilt that he feels, survivor's guilt he's going to feel because he gave that address out. You know what I mean?
There was apparently, like, when you go deeper into the threads on Twitter, there's something that he had said that he knows that he should turn himself in, but he can't because he's scared of the consequences.
Right.
And it's like, okay, sure. But you have to understand that your reaction to something has a much bigger consequence. And yes, in the end, you too are going to have consequences. But what this whole situation started with and now ended with, there are people who are far more deserving of answers and whatnot, and you're part of that. Like, you
have an obligation to come forward and atone.
This family is going to, you know, one day need closure from this whole situation. You know, they'll never get over it. They'll never heal from it. Right. But they also need to know that the people responsible for it are going to have to face facts and truths and consequences. And
Right.
if you're going to be a coward and say, well, I know I did it, but I'm not going to come forward, just like that's not fair to this family. And it's also not fair to the police too, so because they got the address from a man, or I want to say a boy, because he acted like a child, from you. Everybody who's involved all had a piece in the puzzle. And even though you laid your piece of puzzle down first, what the outcome of it all and everything is, you need to suck it up and face the consequences for the sake of the family of all people in this entire situation. Because we all know the SWATter's not, for right now, we all know the SWATter is not going to get caught. If he knows how to, which is really scary, cover his tracks, if no one can find the true identity of this gentleman, then, it could be one of those cases where the only person who's going to face consequences is going to be the police officer.
And that's scary.
Sucky.
It's awful. If you think about it, it's like, what? Granted, depending upon the circumstances, I think it's good that, if they're in the wrong, yes, they should face consequences. But, but that's just one part of it. You know what I mean? It's like, just because you pulled the trigger, like, again, I keep coming back to this. They would not have been there if this fuckwit hadn't made the phone call.
Exactly.
This guy made a phone call, and let's face facts, this guy probably would have made the phone call no matter what address he was given. Okay, he would have had to do more work. He could have gotten that address, possibly. So again, I really do feel for the person that got threatened in the first place, because he was just trying to protect himself, right? I mean, I don't see any reason that, because here's the thing. If someone says, I'm going to do something bad to you, what's your address? And you give them the incorrect address, but something they do with that address turns out to be, in this case, a permanence, like, that's not a crime. I mean, you're going to have to participate in the investigation, and there will be other consequences that are not legal. Like, this guy's not going to go to jail, over this. It's not going to happen. But yeah, you're going to have to answer for it. People are going to know who you are, and they'll be like, yo, you gave that wrong address. You have to live with this whether you come forward or not.
Yeah.
So just come forward and do the right thing. Mac has a good point. If video games influenced players, then Pac-Man players would have spent their time in dark rooms munching pills to repetitive music. Oh, wait. Yeah, exactly right. And it looks like you're looking at an article. Is that right?
Yeah. So Tone sent me an article about dispute and basically gave a little bit more insight about this guy who does swatting, where he's also responsible for he's changed his Twitter name, threatening him in the past, and was even threatened to call in fake bombs to CWL New Orleans, the next event that's taking place in January.
Oh, wow.
And they've already, this was by FaZe Zuma. So New Orleans police has already been warned about it and everything. Like, it's just it's insane. Like that.
Yeah, like, how could you have done this and then and nothing has come of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tones, you can totally post a link about that. Let me get you taken care of here. Dun, 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 dun. All right, you got permit. You're good. The hell?
Yeah, so it says
it purged it. Okay, I'll post it for you, buddy. I got you. There you go. So, I'm curious about this myself. So basically, also there's I guess you call it company or group that they host the wages, like they facilitate betting on games, and they've said flat out we're going to cooperate any way that we can. So they have more information on this than anyone has in the past. So right off the bat, by participating in this wager on this website, from what I can see, like that's more information than they would have had on that thing from the event before, right? There's certainly things that, like there's more of a hook at this point. It's not just a phone call at this point. Now there's a trail because you've got Xbox Live or a PSN or a Steam account that's attached, and there's IP addresses that are logged on those servers and so on and so forth. So this kid's not gonna. He's not gonna be. Oh, and there's actually a screenshot of what happened too. Oh shit.
Yes, the EFA's posted of how this kid is threatening him and his girlfriend, whatnot, and he even tried to change his Twitter handle so that no one could find him, and this guy found him on Twitter again and everything, and it's at what point it's just, stick the CIA or the FBI on him. You got to put an end. So you know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it's going to take long for that to happen, though. Honestly,
yeah. This is it's a threat to, and it's especially when it comes to events now, you know, and like bomb threats and everything like that. That someone could get seriously injured in evacuating the building, and that's not it's not good. And it's not fair to people. This needs to just stop.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way around it. Like, this got to go away. This kind of behavior is unacceptable. It puts so many things in a bad light. It's going to stop people from wanting to entertain. It's going to stop people from wanting to play the games that they love. People aren't going to trust each other anymore. They're not going to trust. The cops already have an image problem. We don't need this to help that. And once again, the game is going to be brought in. It's like, shit, they could have been playing goddamn Twiddlywinks. It doesn't matter.
Super Mario Kart, we all know Mario. Like,
right.
You stole my question mark box.
You sunk my battleship. Like, they could be playing Battleship. Words with friends. It could have been words with friends. Like, God damn it, that was my triple word score.
Right.
I think the platform, granted, the $1.50 wager is like this weird anomaly in the whole thing where I'm like, it just makes Andy's death that much more sad, though. $1.50. Yeah. Like, if you're that worried about $1.50, like, dude, I'll give you $2.
Your milk carton money for school? No,
something.
Jeez.
Absolutely insane. So I am going to wrap the official episode here, but we'll continue an open conversation with you guys here. I do want you guys to check out SnootyWizard. They can find you at SnootyWizard on Twitter and Twitch, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, she's awesome. More so when she doesn't have to talk about sad stuff. Like she shines more when she can smile. So
I try.
Definitely check her out, and thanks for being here. And we'll see you on the next Grindhead podcast, guys.
Bye.